Okay, so I want to update on my 47 Coupé. So for those who have been following, I changed the ECU. Okay, a little bit back, I converted the car from automatic to manual. Um, and like I explained a few times in subsequent videos I did on the car after the conversion, the engine ECU that was running the car after the conversion remained the ECU for the automatic transmission. So for the ECU to run and work well, the ECU have to keep permanently popping up that automatic transmission is faulty. Not like displaying the fault on instrument panel or anything, but the check engine light will stay on. It must stay on. Then each time you scan the vehicle, it will keep showing you transmission ECU faulty, that in the engine ECU, or not, in other words, not necessarily faulty. It's not synchronizing with it, or there's showing it as a problem with the transmission, so the fault stays there. Other than that, no other issue, no drivable issue. So the only way is to live with that check engine light. So which I was okay with. I mean, like I said, anybody that drives a V6 Peugeot car, especially one with the ES engine, knows that I mean, most of the time check engine light stays on, and what usually causes it, most time misfire or catalytic converter fault, which also most time caused by misfire. So you don't worry much. You don't worry about check engine light if you are using any of Peugeot car with this engine, or you intend to buy one. Just know that you have to live with check engine light on most of the time. Now, like I said, there are not major issues that usually cause it. Like just that the engine, any small misfire that comes up will trigger it on and stays on. After a while, it goes off. So it's not. Don't bother trying to scan or scan anyway. Once you know these are usually the cause, unless there's a symptom that you know, okay, no, it has gone beyond the usual cause of the check light. If not, you leave it on. After a while, it goes off on its own. Then after a while, it comes back. So in this case, I wasn't bothered, since it's something I've been living with, check engine light on. So so the car, I used it for, I don't know, after I did the conversion to manual with that, until, what was it? Was it not December 2023? I think it was December. I think it was December, not January, this year, 2024. So in December, so I was able to get a complete ECU kit for the manual ECU. Well, I mean manual 47 Coupé. So we should take care of that check light to stop showing because of the automatic transmission. So it will run like factory electrical, factory 47 Coupé electrical system. So without the need of the transmission anymore, automatic transmission anymore, you know. So, but the reason why I did that, not necessarily because of the check engine light. What prompted me to do it was, first, the remote control was draining battery. Almost every, let's just say maximum 2 weeks. It doesn't stay up to 2 weeks, so as sometimes 7 days. So what I usually do is, after like 7 days, if I don't intend to use the car the previous week, I'll remove the battery. If not, it will stop working by the 14th day. So that's how bad it is. It was the remote control that was causing it, the main key. So the car had a problem. Before I made the purchase, the key had a problem. Not the car, I mean the key had a problem. So they fixed it internally, and the fix done on it was now affecting the battery, the remote battery. So I had now the option I now have was to change it by another key, which I attempted. Most of them did not last or work. In fact, they could start the car, but the remote will not work. So this was the only one, or the remote will work for a few days and stop working. So eventually I will always go back to the original one, original key the car came with, that the battery drains rapidly. So option I now have was I had to step up and buy the most expensive one, which you could say about 30 to, depending on, if you are looking for OEM, you are looking at close to 70 or 80,000. But you are looking at all these aftermarket unbranded ones that works. Don't get me wrong, they work. Then approximately 30, 40,000. Everything. What I mean, you buy, cut the blade, the programming, which I'll do by myself. But let's just say leave it between 30 to maybe 50,000. Let's leave it at that. Then the second reason, so that was something I considered, that okay, I'm going to spend close to 40,000 or a little bit less for this key. Then the second option was the boot. So ever since I got the car, the boot refused to work with the manual button, the manual switch or button on the boot. It will not open no matter what you do. I stripped the entire wire, checked it very well, saw that everything was correct, but it still refused to work. Check the configuration on the radio, as at that time I had that the factory display on radio. It was permanently off in terms of opening it from only with the remote. So it means it was activated to open from that button on the boot, but it still refused to work. But the way it was behaving, it showed the issue was not really the switch or the radio, but in fact, at a point, I even changed the radio. I can't remember the reason why I changed that radio, thinking that it would solve the problem. Okay, I think it was one of the reasons I changed the radio, thinking the radio probably was faulty. And the previous radio, yeah, that was actually the reason. Okay, no, the previous radio had a problem. The CD wasn't playing. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, the CD was not playing, so I had to change it. The CD, it was playing, but not playing well. Anyway, I changed it thinking it solved the problem. It didn't. Check the PSI, use my PP2000. It showed all the configuration was okay from the ones I checked. So I now decided, you know what? Maybe I will just change it so that to solve all this issue. Number one, the boot to work, because eventually everything was pointing at the PSI unit, that most likely there was a problem there. Remember, I also pointed out in some of these videos that the PSI, for some reasons, appear to have been replaced in the past before I even got the car, because of sign I saw. So, and so number one, the boot. Number two, the key. And number three was like okay, an added advantage. It's not the main reason why I'm talking about the check engine light, but okay, fine, it will come with it so that check engine light will go up. But it wasn't really the reason for me to go for another ECU. So it wasn't necessarily the ECU that I wanted to change. That's me pointing that it was the BSI unit. So since the BSI unit will give me the cost of replacing the BSI complete kit with the key, will almost close to cost of changing the key. Let's assume I decide to change that key, the remote key. Remember, the boot was not opening from the button, so it means it has to be only remote control that can open the boot. And then imagine almost every now and then the battery is draining on me. Sometimes I'll go somewhere only for the remote control battery to die. I won't be able to access the boot anymore. So all those things made me, you know what, instead of spending almost same close to the same amount of buying a BSI unit that will come with another key working, and with ECU, all those things. Can as well replace the BSI, everything. So that was why I did it. So in December, I got a manual one, swap it in. The boot started working, but guess what happened? Before I removed that BSI, when I got the kit, the used kit, manual one, I wanted to swap in. So I was okay, let me go to all the programs or configuration on the BSI, so that when I swap in the one I purchased, I'll be able to change some of the configuration that did not match the vehicle. So I can copy from the previous, the one I was removing. So I did a screenshot of them. It was at that time that I now realized that there was one particular program, because what I think happened was that BSI unit was changed, like I said. So they now did configuration, but didn't get it right. As there was a particular part of the configuration on the BSI unit that they left as saloon. Instead of changing it to Coupé, they left it as saloon. So because of that, that was why it now disconnected. The boot refused to work, because the wiring system is for Coupé, not for saloon. So the configuration made it look as if, because remember the saloon, they tend to have a fuse box inside the, or by the side, inside the boot by the side, but Coupé, they don't come with that fuse box. So because the configuration was showing that it was saloon, so it means it will not work, because it's that fuse box that controls the boot opening on the saloon. But in this case, for the BSI unit, for the Coupé, it's the BSI unit that controls it. So that was the reason why the boot refused to work. But by that time, it was kind of, I've already collected this, so I was like, okay, fine, even if it's the boot issue, let me just swap it in. I mean, it's a good thing that I had a manual one. So I did it and confirmed immediately when I mounted this, the one I put, I realized truly that was the reason why the boot refused to work. So there was nothing wrong with the BSI removed that made the boot not to work. So I can always, meaning if tomorrow I decide to swap back the old BSI unit complete kit with this thing, it will now start working. All I need is I'll go to that place, change that configuration, and start working. Okay, so in other words, my intention was actually to sell the other kit, but I think I'm going to keep it as spare, since there's nothing wrong with it. So as for the key issue, which was draining, I mean, as it is now, I can actually get another. I'm be willing to buy another key, the program, the one that works, even if the 40,000, I don't know. So okay, so now let's look at the manual kit that I swapped in. So everything has been working well, but there's something I now observed. I know it's taking too long for me to get to this, but I know it's not everybody that probably that watched the previous videos that I've done on this subject. So that's why I had to take a little bit time to explain all this to get here, so that you follow up where I'm coming from. So there's something I now observed, which was after I mounted the manual on. So the only thing that now comes up on the engine ECU, the manual engine ECU, whenever I scan it, of course check engine light stays up, but whenever I scan it, it will be showing pedal, what's it called, cruise control pedal sensor, because there's a sensor that is supposed to be attached on the pedal clutch, forgotten, clutch pedal. There's a sensor that is supposed to be there that works with the cruise control, aside the brake switch sensor that is also on the brake pedal. So because once you depress the clutch or brake, it's supposed to deactivate or stop the cruise control from working. So but during the conversion, of course, I didn't connect or remember the engine wiring harness, I didn't butcher the wire on the vehicle. So all I did was modify the wiring harness to work as if it was manual. But what I did not introduce on that not engine wiring harness now, the body wiring harness, was to introduce the connection to the cruise control sensor on the clutch pedal. I didn't even connect the sensor. So could I see something I could do? Of course, most likely, because I didn't bother. I didn't even look at it. Usually it's 2-wire connector. So, but why I didn't even bother with, I don't use cruise control. I have other cars that have cruise control, but I don't use them. No, I've never. I tried it once. I think that was in my 406 when I first got the car. I tried it, no, like 2 times. I stopped using it. This was like 2013, early 2013, maybe July, June, or something like that, or May. It very, that was like the first 2, 3 months I bought the car that I tried it. 2 times, I just wasn't my thing. Since then, I stopped. I've never bothered till today to use cruise control. So why bother trying to find how to connect it when I didn't need it when I was doing the conversion? So what now happened was the ECU is constantly seeking for that sensor that's supposed to be on the clutch pedal. So what happened now is, because it works with cruise control, so when I'm accelerating, usually from gear 3, now if I accelerate and exceed like about 2,500, or let's just say approximately 3,000 RPM. Once I accelerate above 3,000 RPM and then press the clutch pedal, because the sensor is not there to indicate to the engine ECU that the clutch pedal has been engaged or depressed, what will now happen is the RPM, the engine speed, will increase, or without me accelerating, it will go up or a little bit, it will add additional like 500 RPM before it now drops. Remember, this is a manual car, so let's assume you're accelerating and the gear is still engaged, and then you press the clutch pedal. Of course, the RPM is supposed to stop increasing. That the car engine will stop accelerating and stop going down. So in this case, what will now happen? The engine will not stop accelerating. Whenever I depress the clutch from about 2,500 or 3,000 RPM upward, it will increase to about, let's say, if I press the pedal at 3,000 RPM, the RPM will still climb up to about 3,500 RPM, and then it start coming down the normal way. It started to deaccelerate. So that was what I observed. So I've even gone further to the engine ECU, trying to reconfigure it so that because the option is there for the cruise control to deactivate the cruise control completely, but still it kept showing that cruise control or what we call it pedal. Okay, let's just say clutch pedal sensor is still absent. But the thing is, it doesn't show its permanent fault. It just shows intermittent fault or temporary fault. So that's what it does. So I've been using it like that since that December, and so what it now made me do was to relearn, or I won't say relearn. I kind of adjusted differently how to drive the car than my other manual cars. So meaning that depending, once I know my RPM goes above that 3,000 or around that side, as I'm shifting to another gear, once I depress the clutch, there's a way I'll do it to the point that I don't need to accelerate anymore. As in, at the point immediately I'm shifting to another gear, normally if you're shifting, you need to accelerate even when you stop accelerating, or while changing the gear, you need to accelerate to increase the momentum also. But in this case, I will not accelerate because the car is at that point is still accelerating a little for another additional 500. So I'll just shift it without accelerating. It will look as if I'm accelerating. It will keep moving, going faster. Then By the time it will start dropping, I'll you know, I may not even wait for it to start dropping, then I'll press accelerator a little, depending on how fast I want it to go. So it now look like how do you call it? Trying to remember this thing about manual. Where you can be oh yeah, what's the term? I'm trying to remember this term where you can do press if you don't want the car to reduce speed at all, or drastically engine speed to drop, you can be pressing the brake and the accelerator pedal at the same time. So if I remember, I'll point it out. Just forgotten this thing, which I've done a few times. So that's how it is now. So in other words, some might say, oh, it's too much. The additional 500 RPM every time you want to down upshift is too much, because some might say, it means you consume a little bit more fuel. Like I said, all I need is to remaster how I drive that car. I've changed how I drive it. It's like I had to learn differently on how to drive the vehicle, because I stopped, because initially when I started, I was not making use of that additional 500 RPM. It was just basically wasting, because I had to now wait for it to drop down before I start to accelerate. So, but now I don't wait. Once I'm engaging it, I'll just let the RPM keep moving the car. That for additional 500 before I can now. By the time it will get to that additional 500, before you get to that point, as about to drop, I will engage the pedal, keep it up from there. So it kind of very good. It's as if right now I'm using the torque more to drive the car rather than the HP, because that's what it does. So you look as if something is pushing the car for me from behind without me really accelerating the car. I don't know how to explain that experience. So, but the reason why I'm doing this video is if you have a 407 V6, you want to do this kind of conversion to manual, you understand, and you want to see, I'm talking about petrol V6, so, and you want to seek for manual ECU, understand that this issue will come up. So you might probably have to leave the automatic ECU there. Like I said, the only issue you have is your check engine light to stay on. That's all. Each time you scan the car, you will see it will read the gearbox inconsistency. That's the automatic transmission. Remember, you've removed it. So the engine ECU, which is supposed to synchronize or communicate with the transmission ECU, will be telling you gearbox inconsistent. Remember, your transmission ECU needs to be connected. As far as once you do this conversion, you don't remove it. As far as the 407 V6 is concerned with AM6 transmission, the one that originally comes, so you have to leave the transmission ECU connected. So it will tell you gearbox inconsistency. That's all. Check engine light will stay on. There were times initially when I did that conversion from auto to manual, if I clear that fault, the gearbox inconsistency will go away. Check light will go away. After like 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, it will come back. So it now got a point. It started coming back less than the 50 or 100 kilometers. Started coming back much less. Sometimes immediately you clear the fault, start the car, it will come back immediately. Sometimes you take a little bit drive, maybe 10 kilometers, 5 or less, then it will pop. So at the point, I was like, what's the point? Why am I trying to clear this? Just because when I know for a fact why the check engine light is on, because of the absence of the automatic transmission, which I have no need for anymore. So why trying to clear this fault when I know even some point check other things will pop the check engine light, which are also insignificant to even bother to clear. So so if you have 407 V6, understand that it probably might be better for you to work with the transmission ECU, which should not disrupt anything. It will work as if it's normal um, ECU uh, for the manual car. Yeah, so as long as you can live with the check line. Now, if you want to put the manual one, if you can find it, remember they are very, very scarce, not common. So if you find the manual one, you have one option. You live with what I just explained, which will make you start to learn how to drive the car. Or you introduce that sensor that is missing. For me, I don't think I want to start messing, because I believe I've not actually checked the wiring schematics. I actually don't even have it. So if I have to do it, it means I have to look for the wiring schematics. Remember, it's 2 wires that goes to that sensor. So it means I have to figure out which most likely will come from, those connectors will come from the engine ECU. So I have to now figure out where to connect those from the engine ECU. I want to believe. I've not checked. I'm not saying for a fact, but technically it should be from there. So you come from engine ECU to the clutch pedal sensor before you can connect the sensor. So my point then is, if that is the case, you have to find a way to pass those 2 wires from the inside the vehicle to the engine bay, to do those connections. So for me, why go to other, unless you really need the cruise control? That's where, okay, that's the only way I would say it will make sense to connect those 2 wires, or to connect the clutch pedal sensor for the cruise control. If you are the type that really likes cruise control, yeah, you have to go that route. If not, if you use automatic transmission ECU to run the engine with the manual transmission, of course the cruise control also will not work. It won't work. Remember, the pedal sensor is not there. The clutch pedal sensor is not there, except the brake one. The sensor on the brake, or the brake light switch, which also acts as work with the cruise control. So I think that explains it. So just for a recap, the purpose of this video is number 1, if you are converting your 407 V6 petrol to manual transmission, understand that your cruise control will not work with the transmission ECU, engine ECU. It will not work. Your cruise control will not work unless, I don't know, I didn't bother to, but I know you can't change the configuration from auto to manual on that ECU. It comes as factory. So it comes as factory programmed. So they are not, like I said, they are not the same. Manual and transmission ECUs are not the same. So unless you can find a way to edit and make it work, then you have to introduce that sensor too. Or you now put a manual ECU, then find a way to do the wiring connection. So for me, I didn't want to tamper the wiring harness that much. I did in such a way that it will work with every other thing. So for me to start going to introduce something I didn't want, especially something that will go to the engine ECU, start to connect something, unless I'm very sure after looking at the schematics that this comes from here to here. I don't want any guesswork. Likewise, the BSI unit, even if this connection will come from the BSI, those wires to the sensors will come from the BSI unit or the BSM. I just didn't want those kind of messing with these wires, so that. But hey, it's not as if, like I say, if I have the wiring schematics, I can do it, but I'm not interested. So if you are doing your conversion, you have these options. So these are the things you have to deal with. Okay. So for me, I'm not. I'm okay with this. Like I said, I wanted to sell my ECU, the automatic one, because that will serve a 407 V6 with saloon or station wagon, or even Coupé with automatic transmission very well. All you need to do is change the key. But like I said, I mean, these ECUs, you never know in future what will happen. So most likely I'm not selling it anymore. I'll keep it spent, since it worked very well all through since I had the car. So it had no fault. Um, the BSI was replaced, but it was programmed such a way that it still worked as if the car came with the BSI from new, without access code or being changed. So that was how I knew. When I opened it, I knew, okay, this was what was done. It was like the mobilizer part of it was, what's it even called? Was transferred to this one. So it's not as initially I was saying it was repaired. No, not repaired. It was that the old one that came with the car probably failed, and then so they took that immobilizer part on the BSI, swap it on this one, so it started working. But the only thing was, now the configuration was not completely done. So that can easily be done. Oh. All right. So I hope this makes sense. If you those who understand what I said on this video are those who probably have done this kind of conversion or are interested in doing that. Those are the people that will find this video very beneficial. Other people might feel it like I was speaking in tongues or speaking jargons, or wasted their time listening to what didn't make sense to them. Okay, so that is it for this car. Yeah, I'm really enjoying 407 Coupe V6. It's really a nice car if you can find one. But I always say, remember the weight of that car. So don't buy it with intention to for fuel economy. No, you won't gain it, especially when driving in the city. I'm not saying the fuel consumption will be excessively too much, but if you are the type that are switching from cars like 206 1.4 liter engine, 307 1.6 liter engine, that TU5 JP4 and TU3 JP, if you have at the back of your mind that you most likely are looking about almost double the same amount of fuel those two smaller cars consume, if you are switching to 407 V6 Coupe, because that's where it usually happen. People will have the same mindset when they are coming from dedicated for economic car to hardcore performance cars, are expecting fuel consumption to be the same. So if you can't afford fueling this kind of cars, don't bother going there. All right.